Well, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the April 19th meeting of the Merrimack Trustees of Trust Funds. I'm Chris Christensen, and we will introduce everybody. To my right is...
Bill Wilkes, trustee.
To my left.
Liz Petrides, trustee.
Paul Calabria, finance director.
And joining us in the audience is...
Kathy Scher.
Good to have you here, both of our new people, so to speak. So the first order of business, I haven't scheduled this. We'll come to some back and forth with you, Kathy, at the end of the meeting, I think. But for anybody watching, just curious, Kathy has expressed interest in the alternate position that is currently open. And Liz used to be an alternate, so it's a valuable position as far as we're concerned. Generally speaking, you get to sit up here, but you can participate in discussions and everything else. You just can't vote unless you're sitting in for somebody who is otherwise absent. So the first order of business is, well, it still says introductions. Do you want to say anything, Paul, about where you're from, what you do, and
Sure.
so forth? Just a brief.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I live in Milford, New Hampshire, and I've been in municipal since 2002. Started in Hollis, worked my way to Nashua School District. So I did 8 years municipal on the town side, then I did 8 years on the dark side because I worked for the school. That's what I like to call that. And then I did 5 years in Milford, and now I'm here.
Very good, thank
Is
you.
your background, I mean, obviously, you're finance director, so were those positions finance?
Yeah.
Type of positions?
Exactly.
And you're a CPA?
No, not a CPA.
Oh, okay. So finance background,
You got it.
okay, very good. Kathy, you want to give us just a 30-second bio?
Okay, sure. I'm Kathy Scher. I am an
Sir,
attorney.
is your mic on?
Do I push that? Oh,
There we go.
now it's on. Okay, sorry. I'm Kathy Scher. I'm an attorney. I was admitted to the bar in 1987. I have an LLM in taxation. I worked for the legislature for 12 years, drafting legislation in the areas of municipal law, taxation, and a variety of other areas. I then worked for the Department of Revenue Administration in many different positions as Assistant Revenue Counsel, a hearings officer, Assistant Director of Audit, and ultimately as the Director of the Audit Division for the Department of Revenue. I retired about 5 years ago or so, continued to work part-time for the Department of Revenue until last year. I am now fully retired.
Very good, thank you. Next order of business is the minutes of March 22nd. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 22nd meeting.
Second.
Any discussion, omissions, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0-0. Okay, I guess the first thing we have, this is sort of old business. We had a request last month for funding from the Parks and Rec Department, and we granted $640 for scholarships to summer camp, but we did not have a background in their new program, which is after-school daycare. And they were looking for some assistance, unspecified amount, and I think we sent out an email that I think everybody had described the program in more detail and so forth. So it's, what they do is use whatever money they have donated to partially subsidize some of the fees. Rather, it's not a full scholarship kind of thing, it's just an assistance program. So if somebody wants to make a motion or discuss or add to that, this is the time to do it.
I'd make a motion that we give $500 from the Bear Christensen Fund towards the after-school program at Wasserman Park.
I'll second.
You want to speak to that, Bill?
We've never done it before. I think $500 is a start, and we can kind of understand more as we go along how the program goes, and potentially in the future, maybe we could do more, but I think this will help some of the people in the town who need the assistance.
I think it's a growing program, so the numbers aren't big. They don't have a lot of experience yet, so I think that's a good start. Anything, Liz?
I think I agree with the $500 amount. I assume that if, you know, it runs out quickly, they could come back and approach us for additional funds at that point. So I think it's a good starting point.
Anything else? Seeing nothing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 3-0-0. Portfolio review. Next month is our semi-annual meeting with Cambridge Trust Company. I don't know if there's anything that comes up. I looked through the first quarter's statement that came out in the mail a week or so ago. And a couple of questions about some of the trades. They're responding to our request to be a little more growth aggressive in the common income fund. So there's been more trades there, more buying of growth-oriented stocks. I didn't see any NVIDIA there. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it, or if you did, if you had any significant questions you wanted to bring up, or go back to Cambridge Trust for things that you want to dive into more deeply next month, so we can give them a heads up on what we're looking for.
I mean, I don't like to second guess their trades, but I did look at the reports, and for instance, they sold some Chevron, and a lot of people think the oils are a place to be right now. I listen to probably more CNBC than I should be listening to, but I listen to a lot of analysts from day to day and week to week and so forth, and you know, Chevron, just as an example, not to pick on that as the only thing they sold, but I was a little surprised to see that based on the economic situation and the turmoil in the world and everything else going on. And there's other ones we could talk about too. I don't know how much you want to talk about them. But the other thing that makes me curious about, and this is just not really a problem or anything, but they seem to have, they sell these, like, for instance, they sold 48 shares of Broadcom. Now, the whole portfolio, I don't have it in front of me, value is, but it's significant. And I just would have a question for them why they sell these, unless it's just totally driven by a formula that says, hey, you know, if you're gonna rebalance the portfolio, you need to sell 48 shares of Broadcom. I would just think, like, if you're gonna sell or buy something, you might do it in a round lot. And again, maybe that's just me showing my age. Used to be, it was more advantageous to buy or sell something in a round lot, but just curious why they would sell 48 shares and not 52 or whatever. Is that, be interesting to know how that all works.
Fair question. I agree. It used to be, well, it used to be, it was a long time ago. If you bought or sold 100 shares, the commission schedule was better than if you bought 56 shares of something. Now, they're not charging us per transaction. If you buy on Schwab or Fidelity, you're not being charged per transaction. So it really doesn't matter much whether you buy 100 shares or 103.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that, you know.
I feel like they're doing some of this, and we'll ask, that's a good question. They're rebalancing, I think they're rebalancing some percentages or dollar amounts, and we like Broadcom, for example, but I really want to buy this over here, so I'm going to sell enough Broadcom to buy XYZ. Don't know. They sold
Rio Tinto.
Rio Tinto, thank you,
Yeah,
and bought Best Buy. And I'm thinking, well, those are just totally different sectors. One's an American company, one isn't, but that kind of stuff. I'm just curious about, and like you say, we hired them so we wouldn't have to second guess everything, so. And the returns have been good, so I'm happy, but just curious. So
I
I
don't
will,
know
I
if
will,
the-
I will bring that up, that we want to discuss the trading strategy in that
I mean,
portfolio.
they don't exactly make a commission on trades, which is understood. However, from what I understand, all of these no-cost transactions actually do cost you money because it depends on which side of the trade you're on and how high of an ask or a bid price you pay, depending on what you're doing. And that's, call it whatever you want to call it, the spread or the VIG or whatever, that's the way they're making some money on it, because they're not actually charging you, but they might be making some pennies on either side of the bid or the ask price. So I don't know how that works with Cambridge Trust representing us and so forth, but anyways, yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, we will ask. Anybody have anything else that you're,
I don't have
Curious
anything,
about-
I just got my hands on the documentation this morning, so
Oh.
I had about 5 minutes to read it, no, not enough time.
it's only 650 pages. I always just flip straight to the trade
Oh,
page.
the other thing that was going through my mind is, I don't know when they, like, and I don't wanna call it arbitrary, but I don't know when they make this decision, hey, we're gonna sell 5 securities and potentially buy 5 new ones. I don't know if that's like somebody sitting at a desk who their job is to execute trades. So, hey, look at the town of Merrimack portfolios and you know, glance through those based on all the information we have and see what you think might merit trading. I guess, you know, again, another question for them. What triggers them to sell these 5 securities?
Okay. If you come up with any other thoughts, in the next day or two, give me an email, and on Monday or Tuesday, I'll send them a request. This does bring up the next item in the agenda, which is the investment policy. In February, we agreed to instruct them to be more aggressive in the investment, in the income fund for a growth side of the portfolio. And starting a little bit later this year is when we get geared up to change, rewrite, reapprove the investment policy. So I'm wondering if we want to change the investment policy formally on that issue to go for, let's say, a total return goal in the common income fund.
I think you need more detail than just more aggressive, though, if you're gonna change. You need, I mean, what is the definition of more aggressive? Is that the Fabulous 5 or is that penny stocks, or is that, you know, micro caps, you know, what's the definition of more aggressive? You know, is that biotech? Is that, you know, technology? If we're gonna, we can't just throw out that word more aggressive, I don't think, into an investment
No,
policy.
that's exactly why we wanna fine tune and I will ask, Eric, what their sense of direction is. And they may have a language suggestion. Kathy may have something. I see some notes being taken.
No, I'm just curious myself, what constitutes an aggressive stance?
Exactly. But what we currently have is an income dividend yield goal for 4%, 3 to 4%. And,
3 or 4%?
right.
That's quite conservative, right? So,
Well, that was set
Yep.
sometime in the past. It was 3%. We moved it up to 4%. If you start going for significantly higher dividend yields, then you get into issues that are less conservative. And we are, if nothing else, supposed to be somewhat conservative with other people's money.
mhm.
And as I said, that was set a year ago, so we're seeing some changes over that past year. And we're required to review and reapprove the investment policy annually, due in September. Anything else in that direction? No. I will say, as an example, I get little love notes from Fidelity every once in a while say, the characteristics of your portfolio make this a, and then they have half a dozen words on a scale of conservative, highly aggressive, whatever, and various terms in between. And that's mostly based on percentage of equities versus percentage of fixed income, is my impression. But we'll see what definitions we can come up with. Correspondence is next. I don't have anything new. Does anybody have anything that came over the transom that we need to know about? And future meetings, it says on the agenda May 17th, but I think we agreed that Thursday, May 23rd is the desired date. Does that match everybody's schedules?
Yes.
Yes. Did Cambridge Trust agree to that date?
Yes.
Okay.
They said, let us know definitely, and
Okay.
we'll make it. And then after that, June 14th or 21st, and that's when we approve the capital reserve fund reimbursements to the town. So we have to have enough time to approve it, get a letter of instruction to the bank, and have them wire the money to the town bank accounts. Do you have anything to add to that, Paul?
I do not. I know that I just got a request for some fencing, so I'll make sure that's part of it also.
What kind of fencing? We talking Abbey Griffin fencing?
I'll have to look. Yeah, it just came across my desk yesterday, but
Oh.
it said, please ask the trustees for reimbursement for this, so.
Remember the amount?
It's like 33 grand, I wanna say. off
Is
the
that
top
for
of my-
the trails down there?
Yeah, it's right in my office below us. Yeah,
Well, But that's gonna be part of the annual reimbursement that we do in June? Or is this a separate transaction that comes out of a different
Yeah,
fund?
I'm not sure, but I'll find out.
Okay, because if it's something that needs to be approved now, well, we can approve it in May. We got
Yep.
time to do it. My recollection is that the Griffin Fence Fund is for Abby Griffin out at the, I can't remember the name of it now, the cemetery that's on Natticook Road. And I was talking to Paul about that many, many months ago, about the other Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was gonna be $35,000 to replace that entire fence, and I think we only had $11,000 available. That's why I was wondering what fund we're talking about or what fence we're,
I'll shoot
We're
you guys an
talking
email after the meeting.
okay. But we'll put it on the May agenda.
Hmm?
Do we have a preference for June 14th or 21st?
I have a preference.
You do not?
I do not.
I'm just thinking that if we're meeting on the 23rd of May, that, you know, it might be a better interval if we went to the 21st. I don't think I have a problem with either date, but, you know, spreads it out a little bit.
Is that enough time if we were to slide it to the 21st?
And if we don't meet, are we not gonna meet in July?
Right.
So maybe June 21st would.
Well, this calendar doesn't list holidays.
Which holiday are you thinking about?
Bike Week.
Okay.
That is a New Hampshire holiday. It really is.
Well, you know, it sometimes impacts people going away for a week or weekend or something of that nature. You haven't gotten the bike out yet, huh?
Not in years.
Okay, so you want to go for the 21st. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay, other stuff that may come up. I had a heads up from Representative Maureen Mooney, who's on the House Finance Committee. They are hearing a bill, Senate Bill 553, which will require the public deposit investment pool to do all of their investing in New Hampshire. I started listening to the hearing last night, but it was a lengthy hearing, and I'm only about halfway through it. We do not participate in the pool. We did many, many years ago, but I'm gonna say we dropped out in 2006, 2007. So it's never been used. I came on board here in 2007, so it's never been used since then. But the basic idea is the pool invests in government guaranteed securities one way or another. And it's an easy mechanism for towns to give raw amounts of money into the pool and not have to try and manage CDs themselves and so forth. And it started around 1990, maybe mid-90s. And at that time, we didn't have the freedom to hire financial advisors, and trustees all around the state were managing stuff themselves. And Arthur Carlson used to have a shoebox with passbooks in it, and he'd go around to the banks and get the interest put into the passbooks every month. Things have changed a lot since then. So there's things on either side of it, but since we don't use it, I don't think it has a big impact. Have you heard anything in your professional water cooler talks?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a very polarizing topic right now, and obviously the banking industry has a huge interest in this. If PDIP goes away, the public investment pool goes away, because towns and cities will have to then invest in New Hampshire banks. But in talking with a lot of finance directors, it will affect the tax rate, because the rate of return is not as great as the banks can offer on their CDs.
It will lower the return, correct?
Hmm?
The PDIP will lower the return.
I'm sorry, Bill,
The PDIP will lower the returns, right?
I don't know.
I mean, in theory, if you've gotta invest in
Right,
New Hampshire institutions.
so now I know what you're saying, yes, that would make sense, yeah. Good job, Liz. So, I know I've heard some finance directors say that the rate's, 5/4, so that's 20% of their investment income that they would lose. And PDIP has come out and said, well, that's money that goes back into the state's economy, because if their tax bills are, let's say 20% of your interest is $150,000, that money's gonna be spent in that town or city. So, I've heard it both ways, but the banking industry definitely has a huge vested interest if this legislation goes through and they're forced to invest in New Hampshire banks. Or PDIP, but then PDIP would have to invest in New Hampshire properties, so, yeah. It's interesting.
What's the Senate bill number again? Is 553?
553. The hearing was Wednesday, I think, and it's available online on YouTube. So, like I say, we have not used it in a long time. At the time that it was into mid 2006 or so, I think they were paying 2%, and we were making 3%. So, but the big issue that I saw was we took some money out of the pool to pay the town, a little over $1 million, if I remember correctly. Well, there was no way to write a check directly from the PDIP. So you had to maintain a separate checking account for the town, the school, and the MVD. So you put money into the checking account, and then you wrote a check to the town. Everything was done manually. Well, for some reason at that point, the million sat in the checking account for, 5 or 6 weeks, accumulating interest. Then they wrote the check for the required amount, and we're left with $4,500 or $4,000 or whatever in interest. And when it got turned over to the next set of trustees, nobody knew what that was for, or where it had come from. It took a lot of digging to reallocate that money back to the whatever funds it represented, because the $1 million was a conglomerate account. Some for ambulance, some for highway, some for whatever. So there was a lot of extra work, and if you put a little bit into the checking account and you earn 50 cents or something, now you have to account for that 50 cents, and it has to go back to the original source account. Big pain in the butt, for my opinion. But personal opinion, we're watching the bill as the best I can say.
Could we ever be required to be in the pool?
No. The pool has about $600 million in it right now from various towns. It's not necessarily all trustees' funds. I think some towns put their uncommitted capital into the pool, because you can move in and out. So anyway, it's just something we should be watching. So the other thing that comes up is the alternate position. So Kathy has expressed interest. It works this way. The RSA says that we nominate a candidate and the town council appoints for a one-year term. At this time of year, the town council likes to appoint people for a year, starting in July, because all of the other committees that they have, whether it's planning board or conservation committee or whatever, all their appointments are, they try to do all in July. So they just have one set of paperwork to go out to remind people in May or June and so on and so forth. So if we make a nomination today, the actual appointment might not occur until May or June to be effective July 1st. Is my guess of the way they like to work it. And we don't have any control over that. So, having said all of that, does anybody have any other questions about the open seat for an alternate? Kathy, do you have any questions?
You say it's a year appointment. After that, what happens? Aren't these positions elected positions? Your,
The trustees are elected.
The trustees are, but the
But the alternate
alternate
is
is
appointed.
appointed for a year at a time? Is that the way
Yes,
it works?
exactly.
Okay, okay.
I don't have any questions for Kathy, but is this a vote or is this a consensus?
I think we should probably have an official vote. Did you have any comments, Bill, or questions?
Done.
Anybody want to make a motion? I'll move we nominate Kathy Scher as an alternate to the trustees of trust funds.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Last chance to beg out.
Give it a shot.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Bill?
No,
It was me.
Liz?
Liz.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0-0. And that brings us to the last item on the agenda, and we having no further business. Does anybody have any further business?
Not aye.
Seeing none, we are adjourned at 9:32.